So that's both. Okay, how many know about Black Love? Okay. That's us. How many know about Confluential Films? Okay, that's why we're here. We're gonna talk about it. Because Tommy and I have built a traditional TV film production company, financier, Confluential Films, for the storytellers here, as well as Black Love, a media company. So we're gonna talk about the difference between the two, why we started them, what we do. And so I'm gonna look over at you, brother, because Confluential Films is actually your baby. Also, if anybody knows anything about us, I'm gonna do a lot more talking than he does, okay? So just roll with it. Roll with it. Don't be talking about me later. Why should she just be talking all the time? Because he doesn't, okay? Morgan done asked us to come up on this stage, so I'm gonna do the talking and I'm gonna ask him some questions. So, Confluential Films, your company, the company behind films like Juice WRLD: Into the Abyss, 40 Years a Prisoner, the Emmy-winning Going to Mars, the Nikki Giovanni Project, and the rom-com The Perfect Find on Netflix with Gabrielle Union and Keith Powers. This is your company. Yeah, go ahead. Show the love. Thank y'all.
It's our company.
It's our company, but it's your baby. Then that's what we'll say about Black Love, right? It's our company, it's my baby.
No, it's my baby too.
Okay, we'll get there in a minute. So talk a little bit about what Confluential Films is and why you started it. See?
Nah, Confluential Films. So I've been making movies for a long time at this point. I made my first movie in 2009 in Rwanda. And it's always been about making movies that center us in a real way and trying to figure out how to do that in a way where we can be seen and where it can get out. And so, like Codie said, it's like so that movie was a movie called Kenya Rwanda. After that, I did a movie called 1982, which I wrote, directed, produced, DP'd. I didn't DP it, shot a lot of it, and that was Hill Harper, Wayne Brady, Ruby Dee, Lala, Sharon Leal, Bokeem Woodbine, Quentin Aaron, a lot of people. And from there, I made a studio movie called The Perfect Guy with Michael Ealy, Sanaa Lathan, Morris Chestnut.
Who saw The Perfect Guy? Yes. Okay, don't be shy. Come. It was good. Michael Ealy was very creepy in that movie. Y'all know.
But he's a total sweetheart in real life. He's one of my dearest friends. And he's such a good guy.
Yeah.
But that was my first studio movie. I was 30 years old when I made that movie. And I learned a lot. But so Confluential is very much the confluence of art, entertainment, business, and cultural specificity. Because that was a movie that I was the only real producer on. That movie made a lot of money. The movie cost $12 million. Opened up #1 at the box office, did $60 million, another $40 million in ancillaries.
Thank you, girl.
Which sounds good, I appreciate it, but I made this much money off of it. And so that's part of the problem. And so where you have companies that are trading on us, on our culture, and we're not able to actually participate in, so that doesn't work at all. And so that was a big lesson for me and what I wanted to be able to do moving forward, both for us, but also for other people that we're producing for and other projects we're working on.
And so if I'm summarizing, that The Perfect Guy was your first big lesson on ownership.
Yes.
Okay.
In part.
In part. So that brings us to Black Love. So Tommy made all of those films that he talked about before we met, with the exception of The Perfect Guy. We met in 2013 at the Toronto Film Festival when he premiered 1982, which he directed, wrote, produced. And then we'll get to it later. And just so y'all know, prepare your questions, because we don't even really like just talking. So we ready for y'all to ask questions. But we decided to make Black Love, a documentary at the time, which ultimately became the docuseries that ran on OWN. But we decided to make it, do it our way, because it was a documentary, so we thought we'd go the festival route and see what happens. And so we just started shooting interviews. And then decided to turn it into a docuseries, which in 2016, we went to buyers, OWN, BET, Lifetime, I think at the time, to see who wanted this show. And in doing so, OWN picked it up. OWN was excited to be our partner. And what was important to us via Tommy was the ownership of the show. So I'm going to circle back to that and just explain that Black Love, since the premiere of the docuseries in 2017, we launched the Black Love Summit, blacklove.com, live events year-round, podcasts, digital content year-round, and robust social media.
We've done 2 summits here.
We've done 2 summits in Atlanta, but 8 Black Love Summits total. We have a women's wellness retreat called the U Retreat, and we do lots of events throughout the year. And so that is what Black Love has become for us, the day-to-day of celebrating and highlighting the Black community. Thank you. Celebrating and highlighting the Black community through the lens of love 365 days a year, and not just romantic love like you saw in the docuseries, but family, partnership, parenting, self-love, love of community. All of these are our pillars that are really important to us, that we work very hard to showcase day in and day out. Because it's not just about the wedding and the marriage, it's about the people that are joining their lives, that are having kids and raising good humans, which is all of us, right? We are at various stages of life, learning how to love ourselves and love others. So that's what we do. And so going back to how were we even able to do that? Because Tommy made sure we owned the docuseries. Do you want to add anything to that?
Was that a question?
Well, all right, here's the question. Why did you choose to make that an issue at the time where we're doing our first docuseries? There's no blacklove.com, there's no brand that we've created. It was just a documentary series that we did, and we said, hey, own Oprah Winfrey Network. We gonna own it, you gonna license it, okay? Is that cool? They could have said no, which others did.
They did say no.
Okay, so tell them about it.
So typically when you go out with the show, the network owns the show. That's just the way it is. And similar to The Perfect Guy, you get paid a little bit of money, they own it forever, they make money off of it forever, and that's just how it works, which for what Black Love was and could have been, it didn't work. And that was a big lesson coming off of The Perfect Guy. And so we did it a bit differently for a couple of reasons. One, had we pitched Black Love as a show, it would have never happened. It's just 2 people, 2 Black people sitting down talking about their relationship. That's it. We're not cutting to the park where they're holding hands or making avocado toast or doing any of that stuff. It's just us. But we knew that those people were out there. We knew those stories were out there. We just didn't see them enough on TV. So we wanted to do that. And so we did it differently, where we went out and we shot the entire first season on our own. We cut the first episode, we cut a sizzle, we wrote a treatment. And so what we were trying to do was create leverage and trying to show, instead of being like, will you please see this thing that we know is important and that'll work? It's like, no, watch it.
I love you. She got us.
And so when we went to them, we were like, cool, glad you like it, but we want to license it to you. And they were like, what? Because, again, I'd made 3 movies at that point, 2 small indies. There was no company, there was no infrastructure. And they were like, you want to do what? I want to license it to you. You want to what? I want to own it, and you will have a license. They were like, okay. And so we ultimately took a comically low license fee for season 1, because they were like, all right, well, we're not going to really pay you anything, but you can own it. And so a couple of things happened from that point. They, to their credit, they ordered season 2 before season 1 came out, because we had been shooting so much. And so season 1 was 4 episodes, season 2 was another 4 episodes, and we told them it wasn't enough, because we had some incredible stories and incredible interviews, and we're like, it should be 8. They're like, nah, you get 4. I'm like, I'm telling you, we need 8. They're like, nah, we're good. Cut to about 2 months before the doc is set to premiere, we realized they're doing very little marketing. And so we took the little bit of money they gave us, we did digital ads, we did church screenings, and I remember getting a phone call from one of the executives, and she said, did you put up a billboard? I said, we put up several billboards. What's up? Cut to, the show premieres as the most viewed unscripted debut in the network's history. And then they were like, oh yeah, how about those other 4 episodes? Yesterday's price ain't today's price.
Okay, so that's the beginning of the Black Love ownership story. And we went on from that season to do 5 more.
And so we own all of them. We own every single frame, every single interview. And we wouldn't have been able to do anything that we did subsequent to that with Black Love had we not owned it.
Right.
There would be no blacklove.com or Black Love Summits or our socials or any of those things.
Or After Love, the Blackout
Any of
Love
that.
After Show, any of it. Yes, all of that. So bouncing a little bit between Confluential and Black Love. And also, do we have any filmmakers in here? Y'all making movies? Okay, I see you. So Tommy, as a filmmaker, who created a TV film production company and financier, which required raising money, right? When we did Black Love, we raised like $20,000 from my mama and 1 grant and like some of my mama's friends. Confluential Films raised millions. Well, Tommy raised millions for Confluential Films. Why did you could have just kept producing movies.
So we had gotten to a point where personally we could do smallish stuff. You know, we could keep doing Black Love. I did a doc called 40 Years a Prisoner, which paid for out of pocket, and did it with a similar model where we took it out and I went to HBO, and HBO was like, great, we love it, we'll commission it, which means that they would have owned it. And I was like, no, you can license it. And so we could do stuff like that, but we couldn't cut the kind of checks that I wanted us to be able to cut. Because going back to The Perfect Guy, had we the ability to co-fi that movie, the economics would have been fundamentally different. And so I wanted to be able to do that. The other thing that I saw, I'll talk about Going to Mars, the Nikki Giovanni project. And it's a project that we put up, 80% of the equity for, but we should have never had the opportunity to come in. And this will illustrate the point behind why I really wanted to raise money. Nikki Giovanni, and there were directors, Black married couple, incredible talent. They had been making stuff for a long time. They had already shot a bunch of stuff for the film and with Nikki. And so it had been significantly de-risked. And these are experienced filmmakers. And they went through everywhere trying to raise money. They went through all the labs. They went through all of the organizations. And nobody wanted to support them. And it's Nikki Giovanni. But the problem is, when we have to sell culture, when we have to try to convince somebody on the other side of the importance of our stories or of the importance of our heroes, we're already at a significant disadvantage. And so there was, I think, one company who was interested, but they wanted to essentially sanitize the film. It's like, if you know anything about Nikki, you're not sanitizing Nikki Giovanni. You're gonna strip out everything that makes it special, which is something that happens again and again in this industry, where you have something, and then by the time it comes out on the other side, it's so unrecognizable, it's not authentic, it becomes something that doesn't work. So we came in as a partner in that film and produced it, financed it, and that movie went to Sundance. That movie won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance. That was the, thank you, first film to ever win the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance with an all-Black producing team. And so it was myself, the 2 directors, and we had 2 EPs, Codie and Taraji P. Henson. And so Black. And then we licensed the film to HBO. And then the film was shortlisted for an Oscar. And then the film won an Emmy. And so a movie that nobody wanted to support because there wasn't anybody on the other side who could understand the value. And so the movie is sitting at, I think, 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it was profitable. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I wanted to be able to do it, because there are so many things that make sense that the other side just doesn't value, or they don't know how to value it, and so they then devalue it. And then it feels like, oh, are we not worthy? No, the other side is just often stupid or myopic or just don't care.
So while y'all get y'all's questions ready, I'm going to ask one more of us, which is, where do these two companies overlap and intersect? TV film production company, media company.
Us.
That's fair.
I mean, so we founded Black Love together, and I guess the point you were making earlier is that I founded Confluential Films before we knew each other, and so but they're both our companies, and so because of that, there's a lot of shared DNA, there's a shared ethos because we believe in operating in a certain way, and so operating from a place of respect and kindness and putting our money where our mouth is. And so in terms of what our team looks like, where we're spending our money, the projects that we're making, and so that extends across both companies.
And it allows us to, obviously, we have very different tastes in the things that we watch and create, yes. And so what it allows us to do is that he, is able to make, the dramas, the thrillers. He's got a new horror label. But it also something.
Yeah, we did our first horror film last summer that I can't wait for you all to see. And so we produced it, we fully financed it, and it's dope.
Well, we should also just throw out Chloe Bailey, YG, Michael Rainey Jr., Soraya, Tyler Lepley.
Jay Alphonse. Jay
Alphonse. Okay, but it allows us to also
Directed by Gerard McMurray.
It allows us to also make things like The Perfect Find, the rom-com that was on Netflix. It allows us also to develop...
Which is a manuscript that she found. And so we optioned that at the very beginning.
And it allows us to develop around what, is important to both of us, but passion for me, Black love stories of all kinds. And then other ways in which we overlap is that Black Love, we've been able to build a business that we partner with brands all the time. We partner with the studios all the time. We just finished a campaign promoting Forever for Netflix. And it's so, right, it was so meaningful for us to be able to do that and to champion our stories. And why are we all here at the idea stage at Blavity Fest? And to get paid to champion our stories. And so we're able to do things like that for others, but also BET paid us a little bit to promote a movie called Young, Wild, Free, which was also a Confluential film. Which is a film, Timmy Banks, and we produced it and co-fied it 50-50 with Macro. And stars Sanaa Lathan and Algie and Mike Epps and Sierra Capri. So we're building businesses where we're able to overlap, we're able to generate revenue together, and that's just been exciting and also challenging. But so I'm going to open up the floor for y'all's questions. I don't know how this works. Yes, thank you, ma'am. Hello. I can. We'll repeat it if it doesn't work. Mic's not working.
Turn the mic up. Turn the mic up.
Okay,
That's
keep
all right,
talking. There we go. There we go. Okay.
Oh, there you are.
Thank you for your stories. I think they are powerful and important. And yes, thank you. When you're talking about self-producing, so I'm producing my own works, including a documentary myself, and I've heard and read about, like, you should know the end. Like, you should know what you want the story to do, which way you want to take it before you even produce it, maybe. But how do you determine what's the route in terms of self-production specifically, if you're going to go festivals, if you're going to do some other, means of getting it out into the world? What's sort of your thought process with that?
You mean the end of the story, or
no, the
end
distribution?
In terms of the process?
Yes, like how you're going to get it out, which route it's going to take to reach the audiences.
So I think part of what that question is really getting at is the market for making things speculatively is terrible.
Right now.
Huh?
Right now.
Yeah.
Not the whole life
and
of
so,
TV and film, but yes.
But for right now, it's bad, and it's been bad for a while. And so the idea that we're going to go to a festival and we're going to sell it at a festival, we're going to make our money back, it's unfortunately not a legitimate plan right now. Because you can do everything right. You can get into one of the best film festivals. You can have great reviews. You can win an award. Even with Going to Mars, we had already done 2 projects with HBO and had a great relationship. It took us 6 months to sell that film or to license that film. With the grand jury prize from Sundance, with Taraji as NEP, with all the momentum. And so it's hard. And so what happens when you do that, when you get into Sundance, when you get into TIFF, when you get into wherever, and it doesn't sell, what's your plan at that point? And so it's thinking through however you're gonna, wherever the money comes from, hey, there's a plan, there's a thought, there's not just hope. And so I think that's kind of the note behind it, which is real. Because the thing is, we can't just, at some point, it's important to make things that are also making money. And, or at least not losing money. And it doesn't mean that art's not important, because it is important. But if we're not able to figure out how to show that there's economic viability, it becomes so much harder, because it becomes another data point. We shouldn't do that. We shouldn't do that. That's not the thing. No. There's an audience.
Yeah.
There's an audience, and there's a way to do it where you can do the things you're proud of and be able to keep doing them.
And it requires doing that research more, I would say more than ever before, to Tommy's point, right? There used to be sort of a clear path, even though it was always harder for people who look like us. There was a clear path to, like, I make this thing, it depends on the type of project, but I go to a festival, there's a bidding war, like that's at least the ideal path, right? It don't happen like that anymore. And so there are lots of ways to make movies, to make money. I would actually say thinking about the end helps you identify how you make your movie, because if you know, well, I'm not likely to make $10 million on this movie, so let me not spend 5. You know what I'm saying? Like, it informs your budget, it informs your cast, it informs how you stack the odds in your favor. And so I would say those are the things to consider always, but now more than ever.
Agree entirely, because I think there's a lack of research that then turns into something that feels unrealistic. It's like, I'm trying to make this doc for $4 million. And then do what with it? Where's that going?
Rob a bank. Green Scarf had her hand up first. Hi.
Hi, Codie. Hi, Tommy.
Hello.
I'm Vernique, a relational trauma therapist. I follow you guys' platform. I've actually been interviewed by your platform for the Nelly and Ashanti article. I was the therapist expert for that. As somebody who loves the work that y'all are doing, to showcase successful Black couples, my heart is to help women especially, but Black people in general, heal from relational trauma and trauma, so that way they can have and build a legacy of sustaining and healthy love. Is there a room, because it has happened even to couples that have been interviewed by you all, to begin talking about not just the successful couples, which we need, but also the people who didn't quite make it, but now finding a path back to hope and love again? Is there room for that in, you guys' media portfolio? And if so, can I host it?
Ooh. Yes, give her applause. I love that idea and that question, and my heart, my gut, my passion says absolutely. And we're always ideating around how can we share our stories. When we created the Black Love documentary series, that was a big part of it, right? We wanted to see the imperfection, and we wanted to see how people got through it. And now sometimes people on the internet be hating on the imperfection, right? They forget or ignore that we are all human beings getting in these relationships, unlearning I don't have to tell you, unlearning, the bad habits of our parents, of our caregivers, of our friends. And so it's been an interesting journey, and it kind of goes back to the first question, right? Is ensuring that we're making things that we know the audience is going to respond to, and we know that there's going to be revenue. So that isn't to say no at all. I'm saying these are all the considerations that we have to take into account when we decide what to create. And so back to my first response, yes, girl. That's like my favorite thing to do, honestly, is show the reality that, like, we're just not perfect. We've been through all kinds of things. But we're worth it. Like, individually, we're worth it. We're worthy of love from our parents or toward our children, and with our partners. And so I love to be able to have those conversations. We will hit you up again. I remember that article was called, like, Should I Spin the Block or something like that. Okay, next question. We have one in the back over here. I don't know where the mic is. Oh, sorry, my bad.
First of all, love y'all's work, so thank you for your contribution to society.
Thank you.
But my question is, for people that are entering the film and production field or starting a new career in that way, obviously they're not gonna write a story and then immediately go to Oprah or Netflix, etc. So for you guys, what would you recommend or suggest is a good place to start when it comes to building that dream team, your community, that network, or just where do you start?
Mm-hmm.
So we're probably gonna have very different answers.
Okay.
It sounds, the idea of Netflix or OWN or whatever, it sounds cool. We all don't actually need that anymore. We
Right.
don't.
Especially right now.
And so the idea of those places validating us, we don't need it. We can appreciate it and it's still cool, but the audience is where the power is, and we all have the ability to connect directly to the audience. And the paradigm is changing, yet most people don't seem to fully grasp it, where YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all of those, you can make more money, you can reach a bigger audience, and you do not have to ask for anybody's permission. And so tap into that community, tap into your network, figure out how to do something that is meaningful and authentic. But that way of operating is dying. It really is.
So our answers aren't that different. I fully support what he said. The thing that I would add to that is community, right? You were saying, where do we start? I went to film school, he didn't. A lot of us will start and think we've got to go like find Denzel and Spike Lee and like they need to see me, right? No, we need to look to the left and to the right. Like they say that first day of college, look to the left and to the right and build with our peers. You know, because there's no one way to do it, but the one thing that is really important is finding your community, finding the folks that want to do some of the same things you do, that are talented and driven, right? There's gonna be a lot of people who are like, yeah, I want to do that. What we doing? You know, but you got to find the people who are building on their own too and say, I admire you, how can I help you? And grow your community that way.
The other thing is, and I don't care who's got a problem with this, embrace the hell out of AI. Because not enough people are clapping, and I'm gonna call you all out. Here's the issue.
He said more clapping on that one.
No, but they're not, but that's part of the issue. And so we have a tendency to be slow to embrace technology, and then the world changes around us and we try to catch up. We can't stop the progress of technology. And what AI does is it democratizes the whole playing field and allows you to do more with less. And if you want to be a fool and just let other people do that, then you're going to be a fool who's watching other people do the things you want to do and make money. And so by all means, embrace the technology because it allows us to do so much more and learn now and allow yourself to have it and don't play catch up.